With Cadwork V30, there is new ways to generate nesting volume according to custom-made rule. Let's generate a nesting group with all these panels available. Here, as we can see, we can actually create specific rules. Two of them are already set, and this one, for example, allows us to generate volumes from 20 feet to 60 feet long with 1 feet increment, and along the width from 10 to 28 feet with also 1 feet increment. In order to set this rule, you can click here on the three dots, and you have access here to all the rules available in the 3D and the ones available in your user profile. When starting a file, you may have no rule available and some of them would be already set in the user profile. In this case, you will need to select the one you want and import it inside your 3D file. Here we are going to create a new one called CLT X. So here you can either use a fixed value for the length or width, or use a minimal and a maximal length. We are going here to set a minimal value of 20 feet, a maximal of 60, and a 2 feet increment. For the width, we are also going to set a value with increment from 4 feet in this case, and 10 feet maximal width with a 1 feet increment. So this is for the format. At the bottom, we can actually set this rule only to be available for a specific material. So we'll only be able to use that rule for a group using that set material. Below, we can actually set the color of the nesting volume. So this is the color that will be used in the nesting module in order to differentiate nesting volume that are generated according to specific rules or from generic ones. If you would like to save this setting to be used in a future project, you will need to export it. This means that it will be then saved in your user profile. We will then import this one here, and we are going to change the material for it to be available for every material. When you first create a nesting group, this is where you can actually set for the first time which rule would be can be used. Here, only the ones that are compatible with the current group will be displayed, meaning the ones that are available for every material and the one available only for that specific material. One thing really important here is that the use of this rule-based nesting volume is only used at the moment when you use the no optimization function or the external nesting with external programs such as OptiPanel. If you are using the width length optimization, on the other hand, this rule won't apply and you will only be using the volumes that are available and set directly within the length optimization settings. So here we have everything that has been grouped. In the panel nesting, when you select an existing group, you can access all the settings that was set during the making of this group. And if you'd like, you can change any of the setting, including the role available for this one. To generate the volume according to specific role, you will need to go to Add according to role. By clicking here on the gears, you can actually select which group would be available. And here you can create minimal format for a specific role or the greatest one. So here we have smallest dimension for the CLT role, the greatest, and then here for the role nesting one. The color that we use for this one is we cannot really see it. So if we go back in the nesting manager under the tab others, and at the bottom there is a new area called nesting volume generation rule. So this is where you can actually create and manage your role without having to create a new group. And here, let's change the color. as you will see, each time you update a row, nesting volume that have been already generated according to that role will also change accordingly. Let's delete the smallest one that won't be of much use, and here let's place the element within the volumes. We can select them and copy them directly in the interface as any other nesting volume. This doesn't change the way you will actually deal with them. And let's do the optimization like this manually. So here we see that there is actually a role that is not actually able to generate a volume big enough for this element. So we'll see how to change this. When you place elements side by side like this, you can actually move them using the shift distance value. So this is something that can be set directly when you first create the nesting group. And you can use this value to move the element with shift arrow key. And if you want to use the second distance, you can use the shortcut control arrow key. When moving the elements around in the nesting, it's best to actually see their shape to see where to place them. So using the 5 to move and G to glide allow you actually to snap the element directly onto your cursor to have a better preview of what you are doing. Let's copy this one once to place the last one. So now we are going to copy this nesting volume once at the bottom and select this one and 5G rotate and place it here on the bottom left corner. Here again, this element is larger than any available stocked panel. So what we are going to do here, we are simply going to edit the rule. So let's exit this. So here, of course, it will tell us that we have an issue. We are aware of this. Let's go to others, manage. And here it was the CLT one. And let's increase the width. Let's say to 12 feet. So now when we go back in the nesting group, you see that we have a warning sign telling us that first we have colliding elements, but also that this group contains nesting volume with generation rule that have been changed. So here we are going to adjust the size of all the different nesting volumes while using only the formats that are made available with the role. So here we can select them and we go to stretch. Here, when we have role-based nesting volume, we will have only access to 4 functions in order to increase or decrease the length, and the same goes for the width, using the increment that we've set. So with A, D for the length, and S and W for the width. So let's select these 4 panels here and stretch them along the length with 7 and A. This volume that is a bit too narrow, we are going to stretch it along the width, so 7, and W for the width. But here you see it's come and collide with the other volumes. So let's click on the regenerate arrangement. And here you see it rearranged the volumes, but didn't keep really the element inside because it was sticking out in the first place. So here we go, let's just place it back in. Let's adjust these two along the lengths. So we select them and again 7 and A to decrease the length. Let's make this one just a bit longer, 7AD. The same as in Cadwork 3D, when you stretch volume, the location of the anchor point is really important. This is the point that will actually move. Since here we move along the length or the width, your panel will actually change format based on that specific node. As you can see here, top right corner, meaning that the panel will be fixed on its bottom left corner. Here also one other function that is not available for role-based nesting volume is the cut nesting volume. The same as the stretch that only give us access to specific options. On the other hand, cut is totally deactivated for these specific volumes. If we get out of this nesting group, outstanding spot. Oh, we have element that sticks out, and yeah, here the nesting volume was a bit too short. Here we go. So if we go back here in the others, when changing the values of an existing nesting rule, if you already have nesting volume that have been generated using this rule and that the formats that are already generated no longer respect the rule new dimensions, the element will actually be released from the rule. So it won't disappear, simply it's no longer linked. So we will see that it will be the same as any other manually generated nesting volume. So here for the example, we are simply going to change the width options and use a fixed value of 10 feet. So here, this warning let us know that currently there is rule-based nesting volume in this group that have been generated using rules that have been changed. So here, as we can see, this volume no longer respects the format available. And you can see here that the color is no longer the one that we had set in the rule, but the default color 194. So this is the default color of nesting volumes. And same goes for this one. Now that we have released the volumes from the rule, we will see that we have now access to the stretch and the cut option. So of course, all these rule-based volume are exactly the same and behave the same as the one you would have done manually. Meaning that if you export a production list, for example, here you will have to make sure to output the nesting volume, and you will have the list with all the data from your optimization. So here we are going to look at what would happen and how it would behave if we were to use this rule with an external optimization. So let's check here the example of OptiPanel. We could have selected the external optimization when first creating the group, but here we are simply going to erase everything we have done. And here directly within the nesting module, we are going to select all the panels and go to add external nesting. And here, once OptiPanel is open, the stock has been generated automatically. Here we are using something that was introduced in V29 in OptiPanel. It was the ability to actually set a minimal and maximal length with an increment. So here, since we haven't actually added the same behavior for the width directly within OptiPanel, we will actually generate in the stock all the widths that are available within the rule, and then we are going to use the minimal length and maximal length with an increment in the stock. About these two columns, if you don't see them, you will need to click on the gears and make sure to add the options length increment and maximal length. When the stock is ready, we can run the optimization. Of course, checking all the settings and click on the CW icon to import back the result directly within the nesting module. Here again, rule-based nesting volume will be using the color you've set in your rule, and other than the way the optimization is done, it doesn't change anything once you are back in Cadwork 3D. For more information, check the PDF under Help, News, UM 2023, Chapter 7. Thank you for watching.